Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to stay updated on all our deep dives into some of the most perplexing mysteries out there. Today, we're revisiting a case that has haunted America for 3 decades, the disappearance of Morgan Nick.
A case that, despite the years that have passed, still holds so many unanswered questions and continues to baffle investigators and the public alike.
It's 1995, a warm summer evening in Alma, Arkansas. June 9th to be exact. Picture a Little League field. Friday night lights, the crack of the bat, families gathered in the stands, kids chasing fireflies.
That quintessential image of Americana, a scene of pure, uncomplicated joy. It's almost impossible to imagine that it's the setting for such a heartbreaking and enduring mystery.
And at the center of it all is 6-year-old Morgan Nick.
Yeah.
A bright little girl with a contagious smile, blonde hair tied back in a ponytail, catching fireflies with her friends near the concession stand. Just a normal kid enjoying a normal summer evening.
It's that stark contrast between the ordinariness of the setting and the extraordinary nature of what happened that makes this case so deeply unsettling.
Absolutely. So the game ends, people start heading home, and Morgan's friends come back to their parents. But Morgan doesn't. Her mother, Colleen, starts looking for her, calling her name, that initial worry escalating into sheer panic as the minutes tick by.
It's every parent's worst nightmare come to life. That sudden realization that your child, who was just there moments ago, is nowhere to be found. The sheer terror of the unknown in that situation is unimaginable.
And what makes this even more baffling is the lack of any struggle, any sign of what happened. Morgan's black and white sneakers were found near the concession stand, but that's it. No footprints, no signs of a fight, just an empty space where she was moments before.
The absence of those crucial pieces of evidence is what makes this case so incredibly perplexing. It's like trying to solve a puzzle with most of the pieces missing.
And that's why, even after all these years, the disappearance of Morgan Nick remains one of the most haunting unsolved mysteries in America.
A case that has left an entire community scarred and a family desperately seeking answers for decades.
So in this deep dive, we're going to revisit all the details. We're going to examine the background of Morgan and her family, try to piece together the timeline of that fateful night, delve into the investigation, and explore the theories and potential suspects that have emerged over the years.
And crucially, we're going to look at the new developments in 2025. New leads, new technology, and renewed hope, however fragile, that maybe, just maybe, we're closer to understanding what happened to Morgan Nick.
So let's start by getting to know Morgan a little better. She was born on September 12th, 1988.
A late summer baby, 6 years old at the time of her disappearance, just about to start first grade.
Right, the youngest of 3 children. Her parents, Colleen and John Nick, were divorced, and Colleen was raising Morgan with her brother, TJ, and her sister, Allison.
A single mother doing her best to provide a loving and stable home for her children.
And by all accounts, Morgan was a happy, energetic child. She loved being outside, drawing, playing with her Barbies, just typical kid stuff.
The kind of little girl who brought joy to everyone around her.
Her mom, Colleen, has described her as a real little chatterbox who could light up a room with her smile. You could just picture that kind of bubbly personality.
And it's that very image, that vibrant life, that makes her disappearance all the more heartbreaking.
Now, Alma, Arkansas, where this all happened, was, and still is, a pretty tight-knit community. Everybody knows everybody, or at least knows of them.
The kind of place where you feel like everyone looks out for each other, especially the kids.
And Friday night Little League games were like a huge social event for the town. It was where everyone gathered. It was part of their routine.
That sense of community, of shared experiences, makes the events that unfolded that night all the more shocking.
So, as we said, it was a Friday night, a humid Arkansas summer night. The Little League field was packed. The local team was playing a rival team from Van Buren. It was a big game.
You can almost hear the sounds, the cheers, the excitement in the air, that kind of electric atmosphere you get at a local game.
Morgan was there with her mom, Colleen. Colleen was likely chatting with other parents, as you do at these things, keeping an eye on Morgan, but, not every second.
You trust that your child is safe in a public space like that. It's that implicit sense of security that gets so violently shattered in cases like this.
Right. So, Morgan was getting a little restless, as kids do. She was wearing purple pants and a tie-dye shirt. Those details, they stick with you. And Colleen let her go off with 2 friends, a little older, to catch fireflies near the concession stand.
It probably seemed perfectly harmless at the time, kids running off to play together at a community event. It's a scenario that plays out countless times every day across the country.
And that distance from where Colleen was in the bleachers to the concession stand was about 75 yards. Not that far, but enough to create a window, especially with a large crowd.
A window that, tragically, someone might have been watching and waiting to exploit.
The game wrapped up around 10:15 p.m., and people started heading home. Morgan's two friends came back to their parents, but Morgan didn't.
And that's when the panic sets in. That slow, creeping realization that something is terribly wrong.
Colleen searched everywhere, the concession stand, the bathrooms, the parking lot. Nothing. Then a witness comes forward, a woman named Mary. She tells police that she saw a man in his 30s, maybe driving a red pickup truck, approach Morgan near Colleen's car.
The red pickup truck. It becomes a central piece of this puzzle, a potential lead that investigators would chase for years.
But the details, as is often the case with eyewitness testimony, are a little hazy. Mary describes the man as having dark hair, medium build, but it was a busy scene, everyone leaving at the same time.
Eyewitness testimony, while valuable, can be notoriously unreliable, especially in stressful situations. The passage of time, the influence of media coverage, it can all affect memory and recall.
There's another witness, too, a young boy, who claims he saw Morgan being led away by a man. But his account was inconsistent, which unfortunately isn't uncommon with young children.
Children's memories can be easily influenced, especially in traumatic situations. It's a delicate balance between taking their accounts seriously and understanding the potential for inaccuracies.
By 10:45 p.m., Colleen calls the police. And that's when the official search begins.
A desperate race against time. In those crucial early hours, every minute counts.
The response was huge. The Alma Police Department, obviously overwhelmed, calls in the Arkansas State Police, and the FBI gets involved almost immediately.
It quickly escalated from a missing child case to a potential abduction, which, given the circumstances, was absolutely the right call.
They cordon off the Little League field, bring in search dogs, helicopters, divers to search nearby water.
A full-scale, multi-agency response, hoping to find any trace of Morgan before it's too late.
Hundreds of volunteers joined the search, combing through the Ozark Hills. It was a massive community effort, everyone hoping for a miracle.
That outpouring of support, of shared grief and determination is often what you see in these kinds of small-town tragedies.
But then comes the discovery that just breaks your heart. Morgan's black and white sneakers are found near the concession stand.
Those tiny shoes left behind become a symbol of the case. A poignant reminder of the little girl who vanished without a trace.
And she was never without her favorite stuffed animal, a small bear that she carried everywhere. But the bear was gone too.
It suggests that she didn't just wander off. This was likely not a case of a child simply getting lost.
But despite the massive search, the intense investigation, the leads about the red pickup truck, there was nothing. No footprints, no DNA, no sign of a struggle. It was as if Morgan had just vanished into thin air.
And that's what makes this case so frustratingly difficult to solve. The lack of physical evidence leaves investigators with very little to go on.
So the investigation continues. They look into Morgan's life, her family, interview everyone who was at the game.
Trying to piece together a timeline, hoping someone saw something, anything that could provide a clue.
Colleen was, of course, a suspect initially, but she was quickly cleared. She was a loving mother, distraught, and there was absolutely no evidence linking her to Morgan's disappearance.
It's standard procedure in these cases to thoroughly examine the family to rule out any possibility of involvement. But the focus quickly shifted to those who were at the game that night, to strangers.
They compiled a list of attendees, looked for anyone who seemed out of place, but nothing solid emerged.
It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. A public event like that attracts people from all walks of life. It's hard to pinpoint someone who doesn't belong.
And then the tips start pouring in. Sightings of Morgan from all over the country, Texas, Oklahoma, even California.
False hope again and again, each tip investigated, each lead turning into a dead end.
In 1996, the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit gets involved. They develop a profile of the likely abductor, suggesting he was a male, 25 to 40 years old, possibly local, maybe with a history of offenses against children.
It's a tool, profiling, but it doesn't give you a name. It gives you a direction to look in.
And Morgan's case starts getting national attention. Her picture goes up on milk cartons. She's featured on America's Most Wanted.
Trying to reach as many people as possible, hoping someone, somewhere, might have seen something crucial.
But despite all this, no real breakthroughs. Years go by. There's a dig near a remote cabin in 2001 based on a tip. Nothing. They use ground-penetrating radar on abandoned properties in 2010. Still nothing.
Each passing year, the hope dwindles, the case grows colder, but officially, it never closes. It remains open.
And through it all, Colleen, Morgan's mother, never gives up. She founds the Morgan Nick Foundation in 1996.
Channeling her grief, her unimaginable loss into something positive, a way to help other families of missing children.
She becomes a powerful advocate for missing children, raising awareness, pushing for changes in legislation, supporting families going through the same nightmare she's living.
A true testament to the strength of the human spirit, the enduring power of a mother's love.
But the question remains, what happened to Morgan? Without that key piece of evidence, it's all theories.
And there are many. Let's look at some of them.
Okay, so the most obvious theory is that she was abducted by a stranger, the man in the red pickup truck. Maybe he lured her away somehow.
It's the scenario that comes to mind first, right? The stranger danger we all grew up hearing about.
But the witness accounts are a little murky. Was it one man or two? Was he definitely driving the truck or just near it?
The details get jumbled, especially after so much time has passed. And without concrete evidence, it's hard to be sure.
Another theory is that Morgan's disappearance might be connected to a known serial offender. Billy Jack Links, for example, who was active in Arkansas around that time.
It's natural to look for connections, to try and fit this into a pattern, but there's no evidence directly linking Links to Morgan. It's purely speculative.
Then there's the idea that someone from Alma, someone Morgan knew, or at least was familiar with, might have been involved.
The local connection. It's a chilling thought, but it's certainly possible.
And there have been specific individuals investigated over the years. In 2002, there was Billy Dale Morris, a convicted sex offender who lived near Alma.
He had a history of abducting children, and his truck was similar to the red pickup truck described by the witness.
He was questioned, but he denied any involvement and died in 2007 without ever confessing.
A frustrating dead end. A potential suspect, but no way to definitively prove or disprove his involvement.
Then, in 2010, a man named Jimmy DeLong, who was imprisoned for murder, claimed he knew what happened to Morgan.
Jailhouse informants, they can be unreliable. Sometimes they're looking for a reduced sentence, sometimes they're just attention-seeking.
And DeLong never offered any proof, any concrete details to back up his claims.
So, another lead that went nowhere.
The FBI also looked into possible connections to other missing children cases. Asha Degree, for example, who disappeared from North Carolina around the same time.
It's a standard practice to look for similarities, for patterns that might suggest a link.
But with Morgan and Asha, the similarities are mostly circumstantial. Both were young girls, vanished without a trace, but there's no hard evidence to connect the two cases.
So many possibilities, but without that one key piece of evidence, the truth remains out of reach.
Now let's talk about the impact. Morgan's disappearance had a huge impact on Alma, but also on the nation.
It's a ripple effect, isn't it? The way a single event can radiate outwards, changing lives, changing communities, even changing laws.
In Alma, there was a definite shift. That sense of safety, that small-town innocence, it was shattered. Parents became much more protective of their kids.
That fear, it lingers, doesn't it? It becomes part of the fabric of a place.
And nationally, Morgan's case, along with others, played a role in the creation of the Amber Alert system. That system, which we all know now, helps to quickly spread information when a child goes missing.
A legacy, albeit a tragic one. A system born out of heartbreak, but one that has undoubtedly helped to save countless lives.
And Morgan's face, that tie-dye shirt, the blonde ponytail, it became an image we all recognize, a symbol of the missing children movement.
A reminder that these cases are not just statistics. They are real children with real families who are loved and missed every single day.
And for Colleen, it's unimaginable. Every birthday, every graduation, every milestone that Morgan should have experienced, it's a reminder of what was lost.
The constant ache of absence, the questions that never go away, it's a burden no parent should have to bear.
But now in 2025, there's new hope, new leads, new technology that might help us finally understand what happened to Morgan.
The 30th anniversary of her disappearance has brought renewed attention to the case. It sparked a fresh wave of investigation.
And a podcast just last year helped to bring the details back into the spotlight, which, believe it or not, led to a new witness coming forward.
The power of storytelling, the reach of these new platforms, it's incredible. You never know what might trigger a memory, what tiny detail might be the key.
So this new witness, he was a ballpark worker back in 1995. And he claims he saw Billy Dale Morris, that convicted sex offender we talked about earlier, at the Little League game that night.
A potentially huge development. Morris was already a person of interest, and now there's someone placing him at the scene.
And investigators are taking it seriously. They're also re-examining Morgan's shoes, those black and white sneakers, using new DNA technology that wasn't available back then.
Forensic science has come a long way in the last 30 years. What was once undetectable might now be the breakthrough they've been waiting for.
They're even using AI, artificial intelligence, to analyze photos from the game, looking for anything unusual, anyone who might have been acting suspiciously.
It's a long shot, but it's worth trying. Technology can sometimes offer a fresh perspective on cold cases.
And just recently, there was a search of a rural property linked to a suspect. We don't know all the details yet, but the fact that they're still actively searching is encouraging.
It means they haven't given up. They're still pursuing leads, still hoping to find that missing piece of the puzzle.
For Colleen, from Morgan's family, it must be a roller coaster. A glimmer of hope, but also the fear of being disappointed again.
After so many years, it's hard to let yourself believe that this time might be different.
So after this deep dive, where do we stand? We still don't have definitive answers. Morgan Nick's disappearance remains an unsolved mystery.
But there's a renewed sense of possibility. These new leads, new technology, they offer a glimmer of hope, however fragile, that maybe, just maybe, we're getting closer to the truth.
And we can't forget the impact Morgan's case has had, the awareness it's raised, the changes it's sparked, the lives it's touched.
Colleen's strength, her unwavering dedication to finding answers, not just for Morgan, but for all missing children, it's truly inspiring.
And that's why it's so important to keep Morgan's story alive, to keep asking questions, to keep searching for answers.
Someone out there knows something. And even the smallest detail, something you might not think is important, could be the key to unlocking this case.
If you have any information about Morgan Nick's disappearance, no matter how insignificant it might seem, please contact the Alma Police Department or the Morgan Nick Foundation.
Don't hesitate. Even a seemingly small detail could be the missing piece.
And as we end, let's think about Morgan, that little girl with the bright smile who loved to catch fireflies. Will we ever know what happened to her?
It's a question that haunts us all. But let's hope that with continued effort, with new technology, with the unwavering dedication of those who refuse to give up, maybe someday we will finally have the answers.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated on our future episodes. And most importantly, let's never forget Morgan Nick.